Welcome to a very early episode of Go Puck Yourself. We are in a day of mourning. Chuck Boys, go fuck yourself. We got you, buddy. You're both a bunch of losers and you got the shit kicked out of you. I don't care if we lost.
I wouldn't say I'm mourning quite yet. This is far from over.
And I don't know. There's a lot to go into on that game alone. It's a bit of it's not over. Like, this isn't the end. It doesn't feel good, but it doesn't mean that we can't win the whole tournament. And everything, I think, most likely is we're going to see him again in the finals.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Just
how do you want to...
First of all, episode 18.
Episode 18.
Welcome.
I think we're calling this the Four Nations Fights. I don't know, rocking start to last night. How do you want to open this can of worms? Because,
That's the last game. We got other games to talk about.
All right. We'll go chronologically.
We're going to go chronologically.
And we've got a treat today.
We do. We do got a new segment today, folks.
We'll get to it.
Episode 18. It's all Four Nations. It's all Canada. Not all. We're going to go into all four games that have been played. All four games in Montreal. We're moving to Boston. We're recording on Sunday. We're moving to Boston Monday.
Finland.
Canada plays Finland at 1. US plays Sweden at 8. The final will be Thursday. I'm just going to put this out there. That's all I'm going to say on this topic, and then we'll start in chronological order. 15 years ago in Vancouver, what happened?
Canada won the gold medal.
What happened in the round robin?
Who did we lose to?
Last time Canada lost an international game best on best was 15 years ago in the round robin against the US.
And then
the gold medal game. And if you don't live under a rock, you know what happened in the 2010 gold medal game. That's all I'll say. Okay. So we'll start Wednesday night. Canada and Sweden.
Canada came out.
First of all, the intro was great.
Yeah.
All four teams bring out a legend. You had Solani for Finland. You had Micah Richter for the US.
Great choice there, by the way.
Alfredson for Sweden. He's their assistant coach. And then the one that blew the roof off, Mario Lemieux for Canada.
Oh, beautiful.
Everyone was going nuts, and it was a great night. Great start. And Canada came out buzzing.
Yeah.
Out of the gates. Nylander took a really bad penalty, and the famous first power play, it didn't take long.
No look between the legs pass.
I don't think it was between the legs.
I'm saying it's between the legs.
It was not between the legs.
Unreal finish by, was it McKinnon who finished that one off?
But just less than 2 minutes into the game, McDavid to Crosby to McKinnon. You couldn't script it any better. It was less than a minute into the game. It was 56 seconds into the game.
Yeah. That was awesome.
And it just blew the roof off the place.
Yeah. Because that's what everyone wanted to see was that power play.
That power play. From there, I thought we played the first period. We played a ton of energy. We were all over them. Sweden looked really flat coming out of the gate. And Marchand on a nice play, that point to Jarvis.
Played his positioning perfectly.
Made it 2 at the end of the first. And Canada had 2 goals before Sweden had a shot.
Now, Sweden didn't roll over after that, but talk about a start that you want.
Yeah, great start. Into the second, Sweden pushed back. They got one back. But then another beautiful play from Crosby on the rush protects the puck well, and finds Stone for the finish. That was late in the second, and it kind of brought the 2-goal gap back up, and it was kind of like, okay, we can breathe a little bit, 3-1.
Yeah.
The third was not great for us. Sweden pushed back big time. Adrian Kempe, who was probably Sweden's best player, best forward, I would say, best forward, brought them within one. And then Eriksson Ek tied it about midway through the third. And once they tied it, it was kind of like, oh boy, like we're in deep shit here. They have all the momentum. It's a tie game. Both teams hang on. We head to OT. In OT, it was pretty back and forth. Typical 3-on-3 overtime.
I thought OT was going to favor the Canadians just with the talent they have.
Canada's talent for 3-on-3, Canada would be the favorite against every team in this tournament in a 3-on-3 situation. They were kind of buzzing all over. McKinnon was up and down the ice in overtime.
Took like 4 shots.
And then we decided to skip Sidney Crosby's second shift for some reason, because I don't know why. And then you finally put him back on the ice, and
he takes control of the ice. He takes the length of the ice, leaves a lovely little drop pass for Marner. But it was really setting up, forcing everyone back so that they couldn't clog up the neutral zone.
And and pushed everyone back, so it gave Marner a little bit of room, and he was able to get the shot off, and it was a nice shot.
Nice shot.
Good finish by Marner. That's kind of the recap. Now we can go into some nuances from this game a little bit. There wasn't a lot of penalties in this game.
No.
And this was the first game of the tournament, so nobody really knew for sure what to expect. A lot of people aren't in favor of this tournament happening because they see it as a glorified all-star game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you put the crest on your sweater that represents your country, I don't think it matters.
These guys are too competitive to take this casually.
And it's not, and you could tell from night 1 into night 2 into night 3, especially night 3, this is not an exhibition for them.
Yeah, if they were leading, if they were kind of lightening up on hits, if they were taking a little bit of the grit out, if they were maybe doing less stick checking, maybe there was less shoving in front of the net, less digging, maybe they aren't taking pokes at loose pucks in front of the goalie and letting the goalie just smother, I'd be like, okay, yeah, they're kind of taking this as entertainment first, but they're not doing that.
No.
And we'll continue down that line.
So I thought that the point Marchand-Jarvis line was our best line on Wednesday night.
I was very curious heading into this because everyone was critical. What's Marchand going to do? Why is Marchand on the team? I think that's like a reasonable question given his age, given his production.
Given the production in the past couple of years, yes. And I think he proved a lot of people wrong, myself included.
Even last night.
Marchand is a big game player.
Yeah.
And that's why he's on this team. Excuse me. You look at Marchand for the Bruins, you look at Marchand in the regular season compared to Marchand in the playoffs, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Even just you can tell against the Leafs, he's always way better in the playoffs than what you see in the regular season.
Yeah.
Especially as he's gotten older, it's kind of like, okay, I'm in my 30s now. I don't need to be putting up big numbers. I just need to be steady Eddie, and then come playoff time, I can go. It's a little bit of save yourself for the playoffs.
It's always warm up for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then once the playoffs are here, he's game.
Now, the rest of his team has to pick up the slack, and they haven't this year, so he might not even get the chance in the playoffs this year, but that's a different topic. But for Canada, he showed out.
Yeah.
I think Seth Jarvis surprised a lot of people. He's a really good player. And Point doesn't surprise me, but he is the most low-key superstar probably in the NHL. And I don't think many people would consider him a superstar, but he's a terrific hockey player.
I think
he is the first-line center on the most dominant team of this decade.
I think Tampa's overlooked in recent years in terms of the level of talent that those guys have. Like Gensel sure came in, but he's recent. But Point, he's never kind of in the conversation.
Point's a 50-goal scorer.
It's always McDavid, Crosby, Matthews,
McKinnon, McCarr, Draisaitl.
Braden Point absolutely should be in those conversations.
Two-way player.
This guy's a goal scorer too.
Two-way player. He puts up numbers. Low-key puts up numbers every year, and he has played on multiple lines in 2 games already, and he's looked good on every line to me. So, but I thought that line was terrific on Wednesday night. I'll get into this later. I'm gonna get into this once we get into the U.S. game.
Between the pipes?
No, not between the pipes.
Okay.
We'll talk about Binnington a little bit from Sweden for the Sweden game. I would say on the back end. So obviously on the back end, a big reason why Sweden did get back into this game is that Theodore got hurt pretty early in the second and didn't come back. So Canada played with 5D, and the pairings were all mucked up. You had guys playing on their offside. Makar played 28 minutes, I believe, and he didn't look bad. It wasn't his best night.
It's a lot of minutes.
It's a lot of minutes. I just think defensively he was fine. Offensively, it wasn't.
Didn't stand out.
It wasn't the normal Makar. Now, in an atmosphere like this, and we'll definitely get into this topic for the Canada-US game, it's like a playoff game. Things are tight. You don't have a lot of space. And that's what Makar wants, to be able to create offense. And it wasn't there. Sweden did a really good job of shutting that down in the last 2 periods. Obviously not the first.
Yeah.
But
the players aren't biting. They're not biting. They're not making mistakes.
I would say Doughty really struggled in the Sweden game.
Yeah.
He didn't look good to me. And I wanted him on the team, so that's not. Elsewhere in the back end, Taves and Morrissey were terrific.
Yeah. Taves, I think, has overperformed, and I think showed a lot of people.
I don't think he's overperformed. I think people just don't realize how good he is.
Yeah, okay, fair. For me, he stood out.
I think because he plays in the pairing with Makar, people don't realize he's the steady Eddie of the two, but he can play.
Well, and if you're in an East Coast zone, you don't see him play a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think he can be.
But even when you get into the playoffs and you watch Colorado a little bit more, it's still, you're playing on a pair with Makar. Mm-hmm. Makar is going to be up and down the ice. Taves is the safe one, but Taves can do that job too. Taves is a terrific player.
Yeah, the stepping up and being and taking the offensive kind of role. I wasn't expecting that at all. I thought he was going to be okay. This is a coverage guy. This is a guy who's going to be solid when you have a D-man who wants to pinch.
But it's both ways, and even Morrissey is more known for offensive, but he looked good both ways, and he's not a big guy either.
Yeah, last night too.
Yeah. Parayko, I thought Parayko did his job. If you don't hear Parayko's name, he's done his job. That's the type of defenseman he is, defensive guy. Binnington. There's a couple there. There was one for sure that he should have had. The one that kind of went high over his head, I wouldn't say was really, really bad. I thought he could have done better, but I wouldn't say it was horrible. But the reason Binnington is in the net is not because he's going to be the best goalie in this tournament. It's because he makes saves at important times when you need saves in a game. And he did that in the third and in overtime of this game.
Mm-hmm. For several times in the Sweden game.
Yeah. So that's I will. There was some low points to the game. There's some high points to the game for Binnington.
Marner doesn't get that goal unless Binnington makes a save on the play before.
Exactly. So that's what I would say. Maybe touch on Sweden a little bit. Sweden's forwards didn't really. Their main guys, their main offensive drivers didn't do much for me. It was guys like Kempe and Raymond that were their best players.
Yeah, Forsberg didn't stand out.
Forsberg had a tough night. Nylander got better as the game went on, but still not his best night.
He wasn't doing Nylander stuff of skating through a couple guys and taking a wicked shot.
In the third, I thought he had some good shifts. I thought he controlled the play, but nothing
too late.
Crazy. Too late. Zibanejad has looked like what he's been all year for New York, and Pettersson. I thought Pettersson played well defensively, but he didn't stand out offensively. Didn't generate much offensively. Like I said, it was even like Eriksson Ek. I thought it was like Kempe, Raymond, Eriksson, Ek. Those were their best forwards. Broad, I didn't hear much of Broad.
No.
But on the back end, they were terrific.
Erik Karlsson stepping up.
Carlson played really well, and I've been really critical of him. And even defensively, he played a lot better than expected. But obviously, the big point of his game was the offensive side of the game. Ekholm had a solid night. That first pairing of Hedman and Brodin is really good.
Did Ekholm have a goal? He was
I
wiring some shots. I don't know if he
believe
ever scored, but I remember.
Brodin got the goal.
Okay. Because he was wiring some. Ekholm played really well, I thought.
Yeah, I would say that Hedman Brodin got their first goal.
Okay.
Hedman Brodin is their shutdown. That's big time. Brodin again, another guy. If you don't hear his name, he's done his job. And I thought Hedman was by far Sweden's best player.
Yeah.
By a mile. Calm, cool. They're down 2-0. He's saying, well, take it easy, boys. It's not a panic yet. It's only the first period. He kind of brings them back into the game. Solid defensively. He got burned on the one goal, but and calm and cool with the puck. I thought he was terrific.
Yeah.
Gustafsson, it was kind of in the same vein as Binnington. Maybe could have done better, but he made some key saves at key times.
It easily could have been a runaway game if it wasn't for the net minding.
Okay, so we touched on a little bit. I thought McKinnon was an absolute truck in OT, by far the best player in overtime. He was buzzing up and down
Quite
the
literally,
ice.
this isn't an exaggeration. Skating through three guys and taking a high quality shot.
I'm curious to know what you think about the McDavid, Marner, Reinhart line in that game specifically.
What stood out to me was McDavid and Marner are running over each other. They're in the same place. They're kind of trying to do the same thing, but literally on certain plays, particularly near the blue line on the boards, they would be running into each other.
Yeah,
it seems like they don't have good chemistry. You saw them talking on the bench, and they're trying to sort it out. Like the clip going viral is oh, look at Marner teaching McDavid how to play the game, but there is an element of truth in they're just not on the same page. They don't have a chemistry. They haven't figured out how they're going to score goals together. The only goal that McDavid's had was last night, I believe. I don't think he scored in that Sweden game.
No. That doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. It's a 2-game sample size, but
it's the high quality chances. It's you didn't see McDavid setting anyone up and having a crazy good shot. You didn't see McDavid having breakaways and having crazy good shots until last night. So the chemistry just isn't there, and I don't think the line works. And then Reinhart, I don't know what Reinhart's supposed to do when there's two guys trying to do the same thing, and he's just kind of sitting there.
That's what I think. I wouldn't say that they're not on the same page. I don't think the chemistry is there because they're both too similar of a player.
Yeah.
They want to do the same things. They don't want to be in the mix. They both want to be on the perimeter, and they both want to be feeding the goals. They don't want to be scoring the goals.
And I'd argue,
and that's you can't have two guys on the ice that want to do that.
McDavid has a different skill set, like I think an additional tool, and like it's not that Marner can't do it, but you can't have a McDavid, just gets the puck and just flies and then has it goes for a deke. Marner's not a huge like breakaway deke guy. Like
no. McDavid has the breakaway speed that Marner doesn't have, but it's still like I'm not talking like through the neutral zone. I'm talking you're in the offensive end, you have control of the puck. They're both looking to stay high. You can't have two defensemen and two forwards sitting at the blue line.
Yeah.
Right? You can't have that.
Mm-hmm. And Reinhardt's just like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Because these guys are just buzzing.
Yeah, Reinhardt is going to be your down low, your net front guy, but you need somebody else. And
you need a shooter.
We'll get into that from the U.S. game, but the chem really wasn't there. I thought McDavid had a decent first period, had a solid first period. He was generating some chances.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't go in. There was one play where Marner found McDavid, and it was a good chance for McDavid. I just don't think in a short tournament like this, you're going to be able to find chemistry between those two guys quickly enough to do that because they're both perimeter players. I wouldn't say, I know I said similar, I wouldn't say they're the exact same style of player, but
their comfort zone.
Yeah, their comfort zone is perimeter stuff. And especially in a tournament where it's going to be tight checking, it's like a playoff atmosphere. You're not going to have a lot of space. You can't have two guys on the ice like that at the same time.
When you're right in the sense of like it's not that they couldn't figure it out, it's they don't have time to figure it out.
Yeah.
If you gave them 15 games, I guarantee they'd figure out, okay, this is how we're going to play together.
100%.
Right now, it's like trying to do that all on the fly and shift by shift.
And it's not like it's an Olympics where you got your games against Norway and Latvia.
Denmark.
Every game in this tournament is a hard game.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I would say it was McDavid's worst game. I thought he generated offense a decent amount, especially in the first. Marner is kind of on the same wavelength as Nylander. It was kind of he started tough. He got a little better as the game wore on. He obviously got the winner, but I wasn't overly impressed with his performance in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you. I thought Reinhart did good things defensively, but offensively there really wasn't much that line did that wasn't McDavid generating it. Obviously, the McKinnon, Stone, Crosby line generated a ton of offense.
It was the Crosby show to a degree.
Stone is just you could put anyone on Crosby's line. It doesn't matter who you put. He can play with anyone. Stone could play that role perfectly. He's the third guy. He kind of sneaks in behind. Nobody sees him because you're too focused on McKinnon and Crosby. And he got that I think it was the third goal. Yeah. The fourth line was Sorelli, Hagel, and Konechny. It didn't see much offensively. They did their job. Defensively, it was just kind of they didn't play a ton of minutes. Sorelli and Hagel played a bunch in overtime, which I know Cooper's a Tampa guy, but you have some guys on this roster that should be playing more in overtime.
It's kind of they come in with so much chemistry already.
Yeah.
That you're kind of leaning on that.
Yeah.
Almost a little bit too much. Now when they're out there, they do look good together.
They look terrific together, but at 3-on-3, it's kind of like maybe more offensive players on the ice. Not that they're bad offensively, but
I don't see Sorelli scoring many game-winning goals.
Yeah. So Sid. This is the last topic of this game. I don't think a lot of people understand. We talk about him all the time on this. People don't get how unbelievable he is. The hockey IQ is off the charts. There isn't a player in this generation that's the elite of the elite right now that is anywhere near his IQ.
Yeah.
Not even close.
The play reading ability, I'm constantly scanning the ice to know where every player on the ice is and where I can feed this next
The
pass.
skill level is higher now, 100%. The speed it's way faster.
And he's still.
The IQ isn't. Nobody touches his IQ. Nobody. There is not a human on Earth that still plays hockey that is anywhere close.
He can dictate the entire play development.
It's Gretzky, and I'm not sure anyone else touches his hockey IQ. Lemieux had it, but Lemieux was a big boy, and that was more his game, right?
The talent big guy.
Talented big guy. That's more of a... Sid just sees things that nobody else sees. And he dictated that game. At 37 years old. Has there ever been a player that good at this age?
Not 37.
Gretzky wasn't this good. Lemieux wasn't this good. Orr was long retired. I don't think anybody touches him.
Messier?
No.
Even
Yager wasn't this good, and Yager has played until he was 50.
He's still playing. He has no teeth anymore.
Yeah, but Yager was still playing, but he wasn't this good.
Yeah. He's in a league of his own. He
wasn't this good.
No.
He is obviously got the player of the game, 3 primary assists. There's just no that I don't know how to explain it.
You have to see it. You literally, if you're not watching this, you're missing out.
On the ice with what probably many consider the best 3 players, or at least 3 of the best 5 or 6 players in the world right now, McDavid, McKinnon, and Makar, and Crosby still stands out. 37.
I was expecting a little bit more out of maybe some of the depth guys, but I think it's also diluted a little bit more because
less ice time and
less ice time and the
yeah.
front end guys are just that good.
Yeah.
They just are.
I would touch on McKinnon a little bit. We talked about in overtime. His overall game, I didn't think he generated a ton offensively, but he was hitting and he was in the mix.
What's crazy to me with McKinnon is his acceleration. He'll go from like drifting
Yeah.
to catching you off guard, and you just can't keep up.
You just need to listen to him skate.
It's
he
crazy.
gallops. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Okay, so that's all I had for that game. I don't know if you have anything else you want to touch on for that game.
No. That kind of
So
covers
basically, that Theodore injury, and
That
Theodore's
sucks.
now out for the tournament.
Yeah.
So that draws Sanheim in, and Harley was called up as the standby D man. We'll get into all the stuff of that when we talk about Canada US. Thursday night, the US played Finland. Um, Finland hung on for 2 periods.
They scored first.
They scored first. They were up 1-0. Yoki Haru, who wasn't even on the team originally, got brought in because of injuries. Brady Kachuk tied the game. Boldy gave the U.S. the lead in the second. They were up 2-1. But Finland was in the game. They weren't going away.
Up until the third.
And then early in the third, the game blew
It just
up.
got lost.
Blew wide open. Matt Kachuk scores 15 seconds in on the power play. Gensel scores 10 seconds later. Brady Kachuk not too far after that.
They just lost their footing for like 5 minutes.
It was out of hand from that point on.
And as soon as that U.S. team gets some confidence, they're gonna run you over. Even when the game started, they were in their face. They were throwing some punches, doing U.S. stuff, playing like some cowards, playing dirty. But they said we're gonna play our game.
Yeah.
We're not playing your game. You're playing our game.
And the same as Canada, I thought the U.S.'s third line was the best line. What the third line started as, which was J.T. Miller, Matt Boldy, and Brady Kachuk. As the game wore on, I know that Brady went up and played on the first line with his brother and Eichel, which I believe Larkin went up to the third line after that. But I thought that Miller, Brady, Boldy line was terrific.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was them, I wouldn't have separated it. Obviously, they've won 2 games, so you can't say anything. But the Kachucks obviously led the way.
Yeah,
2 goals each.
good goals too.
All over the ice, banging in your face. Matthews and Hughes looked like they had some good chem going in that game. They didn't really do much on the score sheet, but there was some plays going, which is It's not surprising because Hughes is probably the closest in terms of style play to Marner in the NHL. Marner and Hughes are pretty interchangeable in terms of what they bring.
Mm-hmm.
Hughes might be a little more like breakaway speed, and Marner's a little more east-west, but it's similar. A small guy who's looking to distribute, and is perimeter, right? And that's kind of why it probably worked pretty seamlessly. Eichel, just such a low-key player.
You didn't see him doing crazy breakouts. You didn't see him
But
doing.
he just does the right things.
Some of those passes are just crazy,
Always does the right thing.
They're always received perfect. Like they're never over hard.
Yeah,
they're never difficult to handle.
Yeah.
It's just clean, exactly where it needs to go at the exact power and pace it needs to be there.
And I think you're starting to see Eichel finally get the respect he deserves. When he came into the league, he was in the same draft as McDavid, so he's not going to get that. He could go second. He probably would have gone first in most drafts.
And got frustrated in Buffalo.
Buffalo, obviously, things weren't working. The team was bad. He had that injury. They disagreed. He finally got out of there, and then he kind of got set free a little bit from Vegas. And first line center on a Stanley Cup winning team.
Tough to argue with that.
He's having his best season this year.
Yeah.
He could probably get 100. Probably gonna be a 100-point guy this year.
Unbelievable amount of points.
And he just is so steady. He doesn't do anything. He's not skating through 40 guys, but he's just solid. He's good on the boards. He's good on the perimeter. He can mix it up if he needs to. He's just the vision is terrific.
It's not always going to be the guys who get these highlight reel goals who are the best players. Yeah. The best players are when he's on the ice. Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure he's at like 50 assists.
Yeah, at least.
And
Yeah.
so it's just like to have the similar to Sid, like
Yeah.
not putting him on the same level as Sid at all, but it's like to have the play development, to be able to see the game, to be able to see, okay, who's open at all times, and
Yeah.
being able to, and not just being able to see it, to then utilize it.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of guys that can read the game, but to be able to say, okay, where can I
Have the
fit in?
ability
How
to
can I
do it.
distribute?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
And you saw that a lot last night too.
Yeah. Again, like two people who don't normally watch hockey, he's not gonna jump off the page
No.
because he's not McDavid skating through 15 guys, right?
Yeah.
But Crosby, that's what I think Eichel used to be that way, and Crosby, guys like Crosby used to be that way. I think when you come into the league young and you're that talented, that's how you play.
Because look at
But
how
I
they
think
are in
over
junior.
time, because you're always way better than everyone else in
In
junior.
junior, you're just crushing
Yeah.
guys, and you can be the human highlight
But then
reel.
as soon as you get in the league, even these guys, they're still strong, one of the stronger players in the league. But they realize if you want to win when it matters, you need to develop.
We spoke about it last week with
Yeah.
Cowan.
Yeah.
It's like the guy dominates junior, no
Yeah.
question about that. But there's a reason he didn't quite make
You just see
the
you have
team
to,
this
and
year.
there's maturity
Yeah,
aspect to it, and there's going to be guys who are just so wildly talented that they come in as an 18, 19-year old. Most guys aren't coming at 18, 19 years old dominating.
and
Most players should play at least a year or two in the AHL before they play in the NHL.
and look at how much Matthews' game has changed.
Yeah.
From the guy who's scoring goals on goals on goals, human highlight reel
Yeah.
to he can be a shutdown center.
We'll talk about that in the U.S. Canada game for sure. Um, Finland, there isn't really much to talk about. It was a struggle offensively. And then obviously they defended well for the first two periods, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
They want low scoring games.
Despite the result, it was. I think a lot of people were impressed with him, despite looking
Yeah.
at the score sheet.
Especially just with all the injuries in the back end.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. In net for both teams, Saros looked good for the first two
First two was
periods.
fine.
He struggled a bit in the third.
And there was some bad stuff happening in the third with him.
Obviously, in front of him wasn't terrific in the third, so it's not all on him. But sometimes you need a save, and I think the confidence is just low.
He's had a brutal year.
He's having a rough year, and it does. The team in front of him doesn't help. But it's been probably about 2 years where he struggled now.
And I think confidence with goalies is just massive.
It's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Hellebuck let in a weak one to start the game, and people were starting to say Hellebuck struggles in the playoffs already for Winnipeg. Is he a big game goalie? Obviously, that was the only goal he let in, so he kind of shut down the rest of the night. But then again, he didn't have a lot to do. I think they had 21 shots or something. Yeah. It wasn't like he got, but he did his job. That's all you can ask of your goalie, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have anything else. It got too out of hand. It was just
they just ran away with it in third. They
the U.S. physically just dominated.
Finland blinked, and the U.S. took a mile.
Yeah. So the U.S. So that was after one game. So because the Canada Sweden game went to OT, the U.S. was in first. You get 3 points for a regulation win, 2 for an overtime win, and 1 for an overtime loss, and obviously 0 for a regulation loss. So that was after round one. The U.S. had 3 points. Canada was on 2. Sweden's on 1. Finland's on none.
It's the point structure my dad's been.
I like it.
Harking on that they need to switch.
I like it a lot. Sweden Finland yesterday afternoon was a 1 o'clock start, obviously prime time in their country, so it was good scheduling there. So obviously you talk about Saros struggling. Lankinen got the start and replaced Saros, and then Kakko drew into the lineup for Armia for Finland, and it looked like a good decision because Kakko looked good. Gustafsson right from the start didn't look terrific. They are saying he was dealing with something.
Okay.
With an illness, I believe.
In full disclosure, I missed the first 2 periods and a half.
Yeah. So basically, I can recap the first half. Jack can recap the second half. He missed the first half. I missed the second half. So basically, Gustafsson looked tough to start the game, and he got replaced at the end of the first. Olmark came in and replaced him. Sweden, to me, looked the better team the first 2 periods.
Were they not up like 3-1?
No, it wasn't. It was they went up 1-0, and then Finland was up 2-1. Rantanen scored late in the first to give him a 2-1 lead.
Okay.
and then Sweden scored twice in the first half of the second, to make it 3-2, and then that's where
Okay.
I missed the rest of the game.
Okay.
Barkov tied it.
They tied it up shortly after
Yeah,
that.
they tied it late in the second, and then the third nobody scored.
Yeah.
And then Finland obviously went out and won. Granlund won
Yeah.
pretty early into overtime. It was a save at one in from Lankinen, and then they come back on the 2-on-1 the other way, and Granlund ends it. And Granlund has we talked about Granlund being low in the lineup for Finland.
Yeah.
He's pushed his way up the lineup.
Yeah, as he should.
Yeah,
That was a weird thing. He was on the third, I think.
it was the third or fourth. I think it might have been the fourth, honestly, to start.
And he's got an A too.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. And the Finns, they got blown out. I think a lot of people kind of wrote them off after that
I thought they were gonna
loss.
get crushed.
Don't write them out. Write them off just yet. And
Nope.
you can't. There are no bad teams in this tournament.
Like,
I know they have a lot of injuries in the back end. They're still a good team.
Put some objectivity into this and take the Canadian bias out of it.
Yeah.
This is kind of an anyone can make the finals here.
100%.
Any one of these teams can go out and
100%.
take control.
You think so? We'll talk about that. But if Canada is in the final with a regulation win tomorrow against Finland, but if Canada wins in OT, I think the U.S. really gives a shit about the last game. They're already in the final.
So you think Sweden's got a bit of an edge?
Sweden might have an edge there.
Maybe they rest a few of their top end guys,
which is tough because you can only rest one guy. But would they give a shit? Would they rather play Sweden in the final? I don't know.
It's interesting. I'm hoping that,
as a competitor, I can't see them doing that, and I can see them wanting to play Canada again. But
and it's kind of against the point of sport to be like, well, we're gonna purposely lose this so we have an easier.
I'm not gonna say they would purposely lose, but maybe there's a little bit of a let's take
change
it easy.
up the lines.
Maybe more of a not like a
balance,
purposeful. It's just like subconsciously you take it a little bit easier because you know you're in the final already.
Yeah,
and it's like we don't want to get hurt. We have more important things.
You might see more balanced time on ice.
Yeah.
Maybe the fourth line gets a few more shifts.
Finland, what we've talked about it, their strength is their depth up the middle.
Yeah.
Which shows. Because that has kind of made up for the lack of high-end guys on the back end. They're two-way guys at center. All three. All four. Lundell's terrific too.
Yeah, it's what stands out with them over Sweden.
Yeah.
They do have those types of players.
I believe Lundell got their first goal. He did, yeah.
And he's having a great season in Florida.
Yeah, terrific season. He stepped up when when Barkov was hurt and Kachuk was hurt at the beginning of the year. He stepped up and he was putting points on the board.
Yeah.
And he's still a young player. He could get even better offensively over time. He's already really good defensively.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be a good player for a long time. You talked about Finland's center depth being a little bit better than Sweden's. We talked about Sweden's what were supposed to be their best offensive players with the Canada game. Again, I didn't see much in this game from those guys. I don't know about you. They got 2 goals from the back end from Dahlin and Carlson, and Zibanejad got one early, which was kind of just off of. It wasn't like generating a chance. It was more of they got the puck back off of a forecheck and won a battle, and then it was just easy. I love Sweden's decor. I think Sweden's decor is actually challenges for the best decor at the tournament.
More than US?
I think it's pretty even.
Interesting.
Hedman. Is Hedman the best defenseman of his generation?
Yeah, I think so. At this point, I think, yeah.
Ekholm's terrific defensively. Brodin's terrific defensively. And especially Brodin doesn't get a lot of headlines, but he's a really good defensive player. Carlson's been really good. Forsling didn't have his best night against Canada, but he played a lot better in the Finland game, and he was the best defenseman on the Stanley Cup winning team last year.
Mm-hmm.
They have good players on the back end. Solid. They're good offensively and defensively. Pretty much every single one plays both ways, maybe minus Carlson. But even Carlson's been good defensively in this tournament.
Yeah.
They don't have enough gamers at forward. They don't have anyone at forward.
They don't have a McKinnon.
They have talent.
Yeah.
Tons of talent. But they don't have anyone that says, I'm going to take this game over.
Get me the
by
puck.
myself and get me the puck. They don't have a McKinnon. They don't have a McDavid. They don't have a Crosby. They don't have a Matthews. The Kachucks, Eichel, even the Finns have Barkov. Zibanejad, we've talked about his struggles in New York. He isn't great defensively to begin with, and if he's not putting points on the board, it's tough. Pettersson has looked better since Miller got traded for Vancouver. But
The type of player he is,
he just isn't like, yeah.
He isn't a get me the puck because I'm about to go score this fucking goal.
He could be.
He's got to want to be that, and he's not
Yeah.
right now.
Nylander, in terms of like offensive ability, I'd say is the most likely on their team to take over a game. But there are times where Nylander is kind of looks uninterested. Maybe it might not be the case. It could be just the body language.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
He just kind of is interested in the game.
And I think he is. I'm not saying that he is uninterested. He is interested, but he's not like player that's going to get in the mix and go and win battles. And he'll win a little puck. He's very good at like lifting the stick, little puck battles. But if it's like a big physical battle, he's not going to go in.
He's almost composed to a flaw.
At certain times. Like Forsberg, good player, isn't taking games over. There's nobody up front for Sweden that takes a game over. And I think that's their flaw at this tournament.
Yeah.
Because you need your best players to take over at key times.
I think Forsberg is the most capable, but I don't think he does it often enough, and I don't think...
Yeah,
he's got size. I didn't realize how big...
He's a big guy.
Yeah. He can be a kind of hybrid power forward skill guy.
I will say I thought Nylander was a lot better in the second game.
Yeah.
Obviously the competition not as good, but even Zibanejad I thought was a lot better.
Yeah.
Pettersson kind of did the same both games for me. Good defensively, but doesn't do much offensively. Forsberg has been quiet the whole tournament for me. And again, it's guys like Kempe, Raymond, Eriksson, Ek. Those are the guys that have stepped up for Sweden. And I think it's maybe time to say in the last game, especially against a heavy team like the U.S., those might be the guys we're leaning on. Because those are the guys that are going to be able to handle the physicality in a must-win game. But Sweden's in trouble here.
Yeah. You have to win, and you need something in the other game to go wrong.
If I don't know the exact what would the tiebreaker be? I would assume head-to-head.
It's got to be head-to-head.
I would assume head-to-head, which doesn't put Sweden in a good spot because they lost to both Canada and Finland.
Yeah.
And those are the two teams they're battling.
So you need one of you need it to go to overtime.
You need it to go to overtime, and you need to win in regulation. I think that's the only way Sweden makes the final.
Yeah.
I think that's it. So
you've got
basically,
a big task.
You need a lot of help, and they're gonna know because the Canada Finland game goes first, so they're gonna know. And if it goes to overtime, they have something to play for. If not,
sorry.
The one thing we can look at is it's Pettersson against JT Miller.
If JT Miller's gonna swing,
yeah,
he's gonna swing. In the U.S., in Boston, yeah, I think he's gonna punch Pettersson in the face.
Okay. We're gonna go to the big one last night.
Okay.
So a couple lineup things to start. The U.S. did stick with the Kachucks on the first line with Eichel. So not much change from the end of the Finland game to the beginning of the Canada game for them. Canada had some lineup problems. So we touched on Theodore. He was out for the tournament. Sanheim drew in for him. We found out that Makar had an illness the day before leading up to it. Canada was able to bring Harley in, but Harley couldn't practice if Makar was practicing. So Makar had to leave the ice for them to bring Harley in to practice, according to the rules. So Makar was a game time decision. He ended up not going, so Harley drew in, and then Bennett came in for Konechny as you're playing a bigger team. It was kind of like we want Bennett in to be a son of a bitch to play against.
Was there someone else who should have been put out instead of Konechny? Because this was something I was thinking about, where it's like,
I like Konechny a lot, and he is probably one of the guys that could have been a physical guy in this game.
He's physical and his production's really good.
The problem here is that you wanted the Sorelli Hagel guys as the shutdown guys against that Kachuk's Eichel line,
Yeah.
and Marchand and Jarvis played too well in the first game to take them out of the lineup.
I would have liked, in my opinion, I think I would have liked him over Sorelli. I think he just does. He's just better, and I understand there's the chemistry in that line.
Sorelli's a center though.
Fine, then I don't know. Have someone else play center. Like it just feels like such a crutch to take Konechny out. Because I feel like he would have been so good just
If I'm being honest,
in there.
he didn't get a ton of ice time in the Sweden game, but he
No.
was probably Canada's worst forward in that game.
Fine. One game.
I don't disagree. It's just it's if you would have told me going into the tournament, Marchand would have been the guy I would have taken out.
Yeah.
But he's
played so well
in the big situations. He knows how to do it.
Even when Canada was down last night,
He played well.
he
well.
was making chances for
Yeah,
himself and at least getting
well.
shots on net. Because my God, was I fucking screaming about how many cute fucking passes do we mentally have to make before we're allowed to take.
But that is the thing with Konechny. That's like he can bang and he can produce at the same time. And I mean,
that's what I was missing.
Canada and the U.S. They're both all-star teams, right? Every player on these rosters are high-end players.
Yeah.
There are no bad players on these rosters.
The thing that like Canada was able to step up in the first to be like, we're gonna match the physicality. You could the energy in that building and just watching, you could feel it. It was so cool. It felt like in the second, it felt like Canada was a little tired. It felt like they were a little banged up.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of older guys. We do have older guys that are in the tail end of their career that, you know, if the first period is going to go like that, I know we haven't spoken about 3 fights in the first 9 seconds.
So let's get into it. So the beginning of the game, lots of energy coming into the game.
Political
Montreal,
undertones.
Bell Center, Saturday night. We won't talk about that part of it. Fight off the opening face-off. It's Matt Tkachuk against
seemingly out of nowhere.
Well, apparently Tkachuk said something to him in
skated
warm-ups.
by him in the warm-ups
and said something. But if you look at the draw, if you look at before, Tkachuk is talking to him.
Yeah. But it's just like, why? Why him?
It was Hagel, right?
Yeah.
It was Hagel. So Matt Tkachuk goes Brendan Hagel off the opening face-off. We go to the next face-off, and Brady Tkachuk is now going Sam Bennett. And then we play a little bit. Canada tosses a light little muffin on net onto the U.S. tosses a light little muffin onto Binnington. And there's really no one near anyone. And JT Miller comes trucking in to try to run the goalie over.
JT Miller,
it was Parayko. Parayko just kind of pushes him away, like just protecting the goalie. And Miller drops his gloves. And Parayko's like, "Oh, okay,
you're half my size.
Okay, sure."
JT Miller, you're borderline needing like a high chair when you go to a restaurant. Okay, you little boy.
So that's 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of the game. And that was stupid for Miller because he took an instigating penalty.
The Miller one was just like, dude, you just want the attention so bad. Well, why?
What are you doing?
No, like, you just wanted to participate and the moment had already passed and you're just like, you want to be included too. Like, relax, buddy.
So that gave us a power play. Obviously, the big guns came out. We didn't score in that power play, but about 5 minutes in, a little bit of open ice for McDavid, and he pounces on it.
Really nice backhand.
The U.S. comes the other way about 5 minutes after that. A weak one from Binnington. Should have had it. Gensel
like just straight 5-hole, dead on, no traffic. Like that was just like, come on.
And pretty much it was that way the entire game. It was tight defensively, tough to get really good scoring opportunities for at both ends of the ice.
The first period took forever.
It was over an hour.
Yeah. And this
after the anthems, you're not starting till about 20 minutes after 8. By the time first submission came, I think it was like 10 after quarter after 9.
Yeah. I want to go back to the point though, where it's
let's just game recap and then we'll get to it.
Okay.
Game recap and then we'll get to it. Canada in the second, it's a tough change, bad change. Crosby turns the puck over, not like him. The U.S. goes the other way on the 2-on-1. Larkin gives them the lead.
Taves hadn't come off as I think it was Harley was trying to get off.
Harley was trying to get off, and Taves didn't see him. I think it was a situation where Harley's got to stay on the ice.
Yeah.
You can see the odd man rush coming. You got to stay on the ice. And you know what? Sid turns the puck over, but he's the first guy back on the back check. He's hauling ass, but he obviously didn't get there. But Larkin,
You've got the goalie perspective, so it's like, should he have stopped that? Because in my eyes, that's a save you have to make.
the 2-on-1 one is tougher.
I get it because the threat of the pass is there, but like it again, no traffic, dead on. It
But
was from pretty far out.
And you're pretty much 1-on-1 in that situation. It's not, and it's a very well placed shot. It's over the pad, below the blocker is one of the hardest shots to save.
Okay.
Especially that close.
So you're saying
that in tight.
That's a justified goal then.
I would say I would blame that on Binnington.
Okay. And this is where I want to give Binnington credit. Like, and you raised this point when we were just talking after I think the first game where it's because I was saying, do you put Hill in? And you said Binnington's the type of guy where if he just gets scored on, he's still gonna make.
He forgets about it. Yeah.
Mind of a goldfish. Yeah. He's gonna move on and he's gonna make a big save the next time.
Ted Lasso reference.
And he did do that a couple times, both in that first game and in the U.S. game, where he still came up big immediately after a bad play.
After the first goal in the U.S. game, he wasn't
phased.
He didn't play poorly after that. Canada, just the offense wasn't coming the whole game, and then Gensel gets the empty netter at the end, and the U.S. get the win, unfortunately. Now we can get into some of the specific things.
I get the adrenaline after because you've got 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. You've got a unbelievable pace in that first period. Unbelievable pace. Everyone is finishing their hits. You've got Doughty got absolutely rinsed. I don't know if it was in the first period or what, but like just to illustrate, the big boys were banging.
Yeah. McDavid got run over a couple times.
McAvoy was had his freaking jersey in his hand.
Yeah.
So I get like that was an intense period. Probably one of that felt like a game 7.
Yeah.
And then going into the second, it just felt like they looked a little bit down. It looked a little tired to me. It looked a little bit like that's when I noticed they started chasing. They started getting more to position. That's when the mistakes happened, and the U.S. stayed way more tight.
It was both teams were very tight defensively, but it seemed like the U.S. controlled it a little bit better.
It just felt like Canada was biting. They were just they were making more unforced errors than the U.S., and it was by a pretty significant margin.
Because the U.S. was north-south, get the puck in deep, go get it. Canada's forecheck was non-existent in this game.
These offensive, like you're entering the zone, you've got 3 forwards from the U.S. who are still high in the zone, and you're sending these cross ice passes, begging for someone to literally just stick a stick out, and they've got a breakaway. I hate them. Can they be used? Sure, but that little stuff. Why are you taking chances like that? This is a close game. This isn't a 0-0 in the first. This is like I just didn't understand that. And then again, and you said McDavid does it all the time last night, and I understand that, but it's not working. The trying to thread a pass through 3 or 4 guys when there is thick traffic, it is more likely that is going to be intercepted with the quality of talent on this ice. It's not like you've got a mismatch and you've got a first line out against a third or a fourth. It's you have some of the best players in the world. They're going to stop that pass every time.
The fourth line on these teams is
it's unbelievable. Yeah. So it's like this isn't the NHL. You can't do that. There isn't the skill discrepancy to where you can get away with that. And it felt like they were constantly trying to do that. And so the offense was like the hesitation to take a fucking shot was just infuriating. It doesn't have to be necessarily cutesy and perfect. Go look at what happened with Binnington. You think Hellebuyck can't make a mistake? Take a fucking shot. That's it. Take a fucking shot. You're not going to pass your way into the net. You eventually have to get it towards it.
Okay. So speaking on what you said that I said with the McDavid tries it all the time, my whole point on that was that you were giving other players shit when McDavid was doing the same thing. That was just
They're all doing it. They're all doing it.
Yeah, but that's your best friend. So I just wanted to make sure
I get
you
it.
knew.
I know. I just wanted to raise it. Yes, he does it and he gets away with it, and shame on him for doing that in that game as well, because he was doing that. Marner was doing that. McDavid was doing it a lot, actually.
McKinnon did it a couple times.
And it's just like, this is going to get intercepted.
Yeah.
You aren't against these kind of guys who are still NHLers, but you're not doing that to Justin Hall.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is crazy.
Like, there are no, like, if you're in the NHL, you're a good hockey player.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's levels.
There's levels.
It's 32
At this
teams.
tournament, there's nobody. That's a bad level.
You think they're not going to make a good defensive play that you can abuse when it's just the NHL? No.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, that's the reality. And to me, this was Canada being like, you're being too cute. You think you're better than you are against the U.S. The U.S. is probably one of the best teams you could possibly go up against, because it's not only high in talent, it's bangers, and they're all like, their age group's really good. They don't have any guys
they're all
who
from
are
the
like,
same. They all grew up together in the development program. And
they're
they all played
capable of doing a high-paced game for 60 minutes, and they're all going to be going right to the end. None of them are going to get tired, and it's every line.
Yeah, I would say that was the one thing that I didn't really love about our game was, especially at the end of the game, like, you're losing, you're down one, you got to get the puck to the net. It's just that simple.
The fucking shot.
It's just that simple.
Especially it happened probably 3 times, I'm going to say, maybe more, but I'll go conservative with 3, where it was sprawling. Hell, there was 3 guys in front of the net. We had taken 2 shots. There's a rebound that came out. The one that sticks out to me, Doughty. Doughty stood there with the puck for like 2 seconds. And it's like, shoot the fucking puck. Just shoot it. Who knows what goes in? I'm not saying there's not traffic. I'm not saying like this is going to be an easy shot. Take the chance, man.
I would say I would agree with that. Like, that specific one, I actually thought he should have passed, but he took too. I think it was more decision making and a length
decision
of time.
paralysis. He was like, what do I do here?
That's what I had more of an issue with, where it was like they kind of sat on the puck. And then they sit on the puck too long, and then the shot's gone, and now they have to make a cross ice pass through 4 guys.
And then go back
It's too long with the decision making. You either got to make the pass or you got to shoot the puck. You got to make a decision.
And those guys on the US, they're going to get up. They're going to get up. They're not staying down.
They're too good defensively for you to dwell on the puck.
And they're too physically talented. They're going to just keep going back at you.
So basically, we had the McDavid goal was the one instance the entire game where he had any open ice. Every other time he'd come on the rush, it was one guy closes him down, the second guy comes in for support. You can't go anywhere. Crosby didn't have any space in his kitchen. He loves playing in or around behind the net on the cycle. Didn't have any room. They didn't give him any space. McKinnon didn't do much offensively. We know what Marner's like in the playoffs. It wasn't any different here. They just shut it down and gave you no space.
And this isn't just a boy that Canada played like crap. It was offensively. It was the American defense was so disciplined. Like, incredibly disciplined, and played the. You can have different players play that same house like formation and in 5-on-6, for example, and make mistakes and jump and bite, and suddenly it's you've got a scoring opportunity for Canada. They didn't. They have such faith in one another that they can do their job, and they just focus on doing that because they don't feel like they have to overcompensate for other players on the ice, frankly, I think. And when you're playing that good, like, and they knew where the line was. McAvoy straight up, I'm pretty sure it was McAvoy, cross-checked Crosby in the face as he's sitting down. Like, they knew how to teeter on the line of, like, dirty versus, like, you know what? We're going to play the mental game here a little bit too.
If it was an IHF tournament, they probably would have gotten away with less.
Oh, there would have been probably 5
But
penalties.
It's an NHL tournament.
Yeah.
And that's the type of hockey we want. That's the type of hockey we want to play.
We bitch about the World Juniors because it's like, Canada's one of the more physical teams in that, so you
Yeah.
get a Latvian penalty off of nothing. But this is what we asked for, and so we have to eat our words here.
Yeah. They separated, so they swapped McKinnon and McDavid. So McKinnon played with Marner and Reinhart, and McDavid played with Crosby and Stone later on in the game. Now listen, some positive things. So the Sorelli, Point, Hagel, the whole Tampa line was put together to shut down the Kachucks and Eichel,
They did it.
and they did it. The Kachucks did nothing.
Yeah.
Eichel made some plays still, but more so maybe at the end of the game when Matt was hurt and it was separated. I, obviously, the Kachucks can play together, but I don't see why you would want to do that because just in the sense of McDavid and Marner being too similar, the Kachucks are even more too similar.
It's overkill.
They're the same fucking player.
It's overkill.
Yeah, you want some different, mix it up so you have one on one line, one on the other line. Obviously, Matt got hurt at the end of the game and couldn't finish the game. Jack Hughes was quiet. Matthews didn't do much offensively, but that was one of the best defensive games I've seen him play. I thought Larkin, not just because he scored, Larkin had a really nice night, a really good night. And the U.S. they just shut it down. I just from every forward to every defenseman to Hellebuck, they kept it tight. They didn't give you any high danger opportunities. That, like I said, McDavid got that little bit of open ice in the first and took advantage. He didn't get it again the rest of the game. Listen, my point here was that I like the Sorelli Point Hagel line as the shutdown line. But I think diminishing Point to just a shutdown role is not utilizing him to his full capabilities. I understand that Stone played well as the complementary piece to Crosby and McKinnon. I think Point has more offensive upside.
I think this is a huge call out that I really hope they address.
And I think Stone would not have any issue playing a shutdown role. He's done it before. He does it every night. Vegas is a very defensively sound team. From first line to fourth line.
Would love it. Swap Point and Stone. If this is the point you're making, I think this could be huge for actually generating more offense.
Because at the end of the game, when they needed goals, they were putting Point up with the big boys, and it looked a lot. But Point, you can put Point is like Crosby. You can play Point with anyone. Mm-hmm. Another problem I have, I think Crosby should play center. I know you want to do the Nova Scotia boys together. I know that's the narrative, blah, blah, blah. And everyone loves like Chuck brothers playing together and McDavid and Marner playing.
There's a little bit of a fan dream scenario here.
We need to cut that out. That needs to go away. We're here to win. We need to put the players that will play best together in order to win the game. I don't care if that means Crosby plays third line center. If I am being completely honest, out of the three players between McDavid, McKinnon, and Crosby, I would want McDavid to play the wing more than the other two.
He's going to get far more breakout chances to do exactly what he did when he did score if he plays.
I understand that a lot of McDavid's game is him generating speed through his own defensive end and through the neutral zone and getting that space, which you can't do as much on the wing. But in a game like we just saw against the U.S., he wasn't getting that opportunity anyway.
And if you're a winger, you can pinch a little bit. You're doing a breakout. Yeah, you're doing a breakout. I mean, how many times has Willie had breakouts because Marner does that exact same thing? And he can break out with speed, and he can do that goal 10 times.
McKinnon has been too good defensively to take him out of the center position.
Yeah, I agree.
And he was by far our best faceoff man, and that was a big struggle last night. McKinnon was the only one winning draws for us, and Sid isn't taking draws, and Sid is notoriously an elite faceoff man.
Yeah.
You need to separate them. Crosby's got to play center, and Crosby needs to be taking draws at key situations in the game, offensive zone, defensive zone. McDavid struggled on draws too.
There's the iconic mic'd up clip of Bedard when he comes in and he's playing against Pittsburgh and he goes up to the ref and he goes, "I haven't won a face-off against that guy yet."
Yeah.
I agree with kind of the point you're
And
making here.
Sid's defensive game, I know he's 37 and we're here to win.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Sid's gonna have any issue if he's playing a third line center role.
And even put McKinnon on the first line center and Crosby the second line center and McDavid plays the wing.
Yep.
Bennett can play center. Sorelli can play center. You have other guys who can play the center in the depth roles.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you want to put Point, you still want Point third line center. I'm good with that.
Fine.
Whatever. Or Point second line center, Crosby third line center. Whatever. I would love to see Point on the wing with up in the lineup because I think he'll generate offense. I think Reinhardt's a terrific player. But he is a Florida player to a T.
Yeah.
It's dump and chase, go get the puck and grind and get the goals in the mixer in front of the net. And he just doesn't fit this with the skill guys as much, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you can still play him in a top six role if you're separating the lineup a little bit, so it's not he's playing with McDavid and Marner. That's two of the same players.
Mm-hmm.
I think you put Reinhardt on a line with Crosby. I think that works great.
So who needs to clue into this? Coop?
What if you put McDavid on the wing with Crosby and at center and Reinhardt on the other wing? And then Marner goes with McKinnon and Point.
I think I like that. I think that you can have Crosby dictating the play. You can have McDavid just flying around, take the leash off of him because honestly, it seems like it's a little bit too much responsibility for him to be playing center at this point. And he's not doing well. If he was if he was winning a bunch of faceoffs and he was getting chances, but he just wasn't scoring, that's a different conversation than he's being. It feels like there's weights on his back here, and you got to take those off and let him do what he's really good at, which is skating really fucking fast and getting into space.
Again, I don't like Crosby didn't have his best night last night.
No,
not anywhere near.
You don't see Crosby make mistakes like that most of the time.
But Crosby is more well equipped to play the defensive side of the game, the two-way side of the game, and face-off situations than McDavid is. And the West shut it down last night. And what we talk about, what I have spoken about with McDavid and Marner historically in come playoff time, what happens, why I have an issue, the issue I have with McDavid is exactly what happened last night. It's exactly what happened last night. Marner's different because Marner's a small guy.
McDavid's not huge.
McDavid's not a small guy.
He's not huge.
He's not weight-wise, he's not huge. He's a tall guy.
Yeah, that's fine.
You can throw your body around a little bit. I'm not telling McDavid to go blow guys up. I'm saying you have the speed. Drive the fucking net.
Yeah.
Get in the fucking mix. That's what you need to win the cup. And if you're going to play like you did last night in the playoffs, and I know he lit it up and won the Conn Smythe and blah, blah, blah. They were one game away from the cup last year. Blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up. You want to win and you want to be considered one of the best ever, you need to fix things. You need to get in the mix. You need to win draws. And McDavid will win a ton of draws against Sweden. Okay, good job. Zibanejad ain't exactly like a world on fire on face-offs, all right?
Well, look at his skates, though. Like, it's pretty tough.
The full yellow skates. In key situations, do I trust those guys that are perimeter players to get it done?
No.
And you had too many of those guys on the ice at the end of the game. You have a defenseman on the point. You have McDavid on one wall. You have Marner on the other wall, or McKinnon and Marner, or whatever. Crosby's net front. Crosby is notoriously one of the best tippers the NHL has ever seen. Get the puck to his stick.
Yep.
Points in the bumper. Get the puck into the bumper. You need to move the puck and maybe you move the puck side to side a little bit, move out the defenseman, create some space in the middle for Point to get in the bumper, get a shot away. Doesn't have to be perfect little pass. Get it in the bumper, shoot the fucking puck off the one-timer.
Nothing wrong.
Crosby's in the mixer. Reinhardt's in the mixer. Even Point gets in the mixer. Get the puck to the fucking net.
There's nothing wrong with getting a goal by jamming it with your stick in front of the net.
What did the U.S. do?
Yep.
Were any of your goals pretty? Even in the Finland game, most of their goals weren't pretty.
Nope.
It was the Kachucks fucking pounding away in the front of the net. And the Kachucks did fuck all last night.
Yep.
Because Canada shut it down defensively. And the U.S., you could say the same things with their top end talent.
The main difference is what happened on offense.
But offensively, the depth guys were doing things for the U.S. And again, it's one goal. I know there was 3-1, but it was an empty netter, so it was 2-1.
It was 2-1.
There's only one goal difference, but Larkin got a goal and Gensel got a goal.
But
I know Gensel's playing further up the lineup, but Gensel would be not considered one of their high-end offensive guys on this roster.
Didn't go for some crazy fancy deke.
No.
Just shot the puck.
The puck's to the fucking net.
Sometimes it's that simple.
Now, Finland's not an easy game, but I would expect we win the game.
If we don't, we have a real problem with Canadian hockey.
Yeah. Obviously, the U.S. coming in, everybody knows the U.S. was a little bigger than us. They're more of a heavyweight team than us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're more, you have a little bit more talent, high-end talent. I thought because if you look through our lineup, we have guys who've won cups that know how to win. And I thought that would help us. And it still could, because the tournament's not over yet. We spoke about that.
Tournament's not over.
There's still tons of hockey to play here. If Canada wins a regulation tomorrow afternoon, they're in the final. We got another Canada-US game in the final. And the guys behind that bench for Canada, John Cooper, Rick Tocchet, Bruce Cassidy, Pete DeBoer. You don't think there's going to be adjustments made for the U.S. game?
I think so.
I think there might.
I think they were probably already talking after the game last night.
I don't think you need to change anything defensively.
No. It's goals.
But to produce goals, you need to change some stuff.
Yep.
You need to mix the lineup up a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what you
have to take chances.
I think maybe Konechny needs to be in the lineup.
I think so. I think Konechny needs.
I think Konechny. You're better off scratching Konechny in a game like Sweden or Finland.
Yes.
When you're gonna have a little bit more open ice and the big guns are gonna be able to create more. And a game against the U.S., I think that's a guy you want in the lineup.
Yeah.
Now it's tough to say who draws out. I wouldn't say Jarvis did much in the U.S. game.
Unfortunately not, because I love Jarvis.
And I think he's a terrific player. Again, he did play a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
That Marchand, Jarvis, Bennett line didn't play too much.
There's one where they came out for, I don't know if it was a penalty kill. I think it must have been a penalty kill.
Yeah.
Came out, took the face off. They got iced, I think, or something like that, and immediately went off.
Yeah.
Like they're not there to play a whole lot of minutes.
Yeah. It's energy up and down the ice. Bennett was physical. I thought Bennett played well.
The nice thing you have is you do have a ton of leadership in that room.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen what they're talking about after the game.
I've done this in my head. So you look at the U.S.'s roster and look at their best players who've won cups on the U.S.'s team. Eichel's got a cup.
Matt Tkachuk.
Matt Tkachuk has a cup. None of their goalies have cups.
No.
I don't think any of their D have cups. At least not any of the main. Hanifin wasn't on Vegas yet.
Wasn't on Vegas yet. He was in Calgary.
I don't think any of them do.
No.
There's not a lot of as much winning pedigree. You look through Canada's lineup.
Stone.
In the net, Bennington and Hill both have cups. You look on the back end, Makar's got a cup. Taze has a cup. I know Petro and Theodore are out, but both have cups. Parayko's got a cup. You look at forward, you got Crosby. You got McKinnon. You got Reinhardt. McDavid was close. Point, Hagel, Cirelli.
Oh.
Stone. You mentioned Stone.
You've got
Marchand.
A lot of guys.
There's a lot of guys who know how to win in this room.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tight game. And we talked about it already. We've seen this before. 2010, U.S. win the round robin game. That doesn't mean anything. Now, Canada still has to get there.
Yep.
And Finland is no easy game. I know the U.S. ran away with it, but Finland was in the game for 2 periods.
For 2 periods,
and they beat Sweden, who Canada went to overtime with.
Yeah.
Again, Barkov, Aho, Hintz, two-way centers, not easy to play against.
Hintz was phenomenal.
There's going to be a little bit more room because the because the back end for Finland isn't going to be as strong, but it's still no easy out.
Yeah.
Lankinen played decently well in the Sweden game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no easy. It's not going to be easy.
You still got to show up.
But I expect us to win in regulation and be playing the U.S. in Boston on Thursday night.
And that should be the expectation.
Yeah. I know we're critical, but the game, there wasn't much in it.
No.
It could have gone either way.
It was still very competitive.
It was a very competitive game.
I
And
think
Hellebuck, and not that Hellebuck had any like extremely high danger chances to deal with because they defended well, but he was solid.
my prediction, so long as we get past Finland, I think Bennington goes nuts in that finals. I think he's going to be so fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
I think he is going to go absolutely.
It's time to dial in.
Yeah, he's going to go.
That's a guy who's won a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup final as a rookie. I don't even know if you classify him as a rookie that season because I don't know if he played enough regular season games to be classified as a rookie.
It's time to go sicko mode.
Yeah. Okay. We ready?
Jump to the segment?
We'll jump to our segment.
Okay. Guys, we got a segment. We're going to introduce it in the moment, but we'll see you in a different format here.
Yeah. Just give us, well, you'll see it in the video format. You'll see us right away, but give us a minute.
What do you want to be known as here, pal? Because you might need a pseudonym with all the hot takes you tend to give.
You're putting me on the spot here. I didn't think about this whatsoever. But
Are you dipping right now?
am I dipping? No.
Interesting.
No,
Okay.
no dip.
Go ahead.
I'm not a dip
Introduce
guy.
yourself. Give us a little 1 minute intro about who you are, what you know about hockey, and how difficult you are to deal with in fantasy.
Okay, well, I'll start with the fantasy thing because that's kind of my identity. I like being a pest and just specifically Jack, making fun of him and giving him bad trade offers, but they're actually good. He just pretends they're bad.
Uh-huh.
But you put me on the spot. I don't have a name, but we'll just go with
Okay.
Just so you know, we can see your name on.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not like scared of people discovering
Jack's
my
weird.
identity. Like
I'm
not
saw
gonna
the first
speak in
episode,
code
right?
like you guys were on the first episode.
That's what
No,
I mean. Jack was like trying to hide it, like we were like super important or some shit.
We are super
Okay.
important.
But
By the way, yeah, with this, the audio is unlikely to be both, but
so this is Chase, people. This
Yeah.
is our new segment, our gambling expert.
oh yeah,
Chase's Choice,
We haven't figured out a name yet, but we'll get to that.
Chase's Corner.
I'll produce or introduce the official name when I'm in person on the pod.
Okay.
That'll happen at some point. But
Okay.
how about we jump right into it? I know you guys already talked about the games last night. We'll
Chase
touch
wants
on
to
it
give his
briefly.
thoughts.
I want to give my thoughts. Of course, I have to ref a hockey game at 7:50 last night. So by the time
That's
I got
tough.
back, no, my eighth game of the day at 7:50.
You're making money. Yeah, making money though.
It was a big day.
This is the degenerate college student of the pod.
What are you talking about? But so I get back to dad's with like 5 minutes left in the first, and I'm like, I had seen on my phone that there was one fight,
There's the longest period of all time. So
but when I walk in the room and I'm like, oh dad, how was the Miller Parayko fight? Because I just saw when I opened up the score because that was the most recent one. And he's like, what do you mean there was 3 fights in 9 seconds? I'm like, shut up. So I want your guys' thoughts on the fight specifically because I saw a lot of discourse online. It was like Americans, a lot of them not even knowledgeable about hockey, and it's like, oh, you boo our anthem, we'll punch your teeth in. You know what I mean? But honestly, and you guys gotta let me know if I'm wrong here. But if you like culminate the 3 fights together, I think Canada won.
100%.
Yeah, it's not even close.
The first one was bullshit. It was a complete mismatch.
Well, yeah, Brady
and Hagel.
And Hagel still won.
I thought that was a tie, if not Hagel won, given the size mismatch.
Yeah. And then Brady and Bennett, I'd say.
Brady won, but again, big size difference, right?
Yeah. And then Miller going above his weight class. I'd feel bad for him if Parayko started it, but Miller started it.
Now, Miller got the instigator, yeah. Parayko absolutely fed him his lunch. And if you watch the replay, you can actually see when Miller loses his helmet, he punched himself in the face. You guys have to watch this back if you haven't seen it. It's incredible. If we could get producer Jack up here to like get the thing on the screen, it's hilarious. Parayko's got him held. He's like throwing blindly and he punches himself in the face. It's incredible. But overall, the game, I thought Canada just they weren't hungry enough.
Yeah,
I
Mm,
think they could have won
agree.
more puck battles.
yeah.
Overall,
We
I
we
thought it was
talked about like
pretty.
McDavid, Marner, guys like that, just not getting in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They were just missing that. Usually when Canada plays, they have that little like boost of aura or like that little like
Little
fate
edge.
is on their side. They didn't have that
Yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
I thought Bennington was good, but not good
Outside of
enough.
the goal, first goal, yeah,
I mean, like Hellebuck was just better. It wasn't that Bennington was bad, but
yeah,
Hellebuck was just better.
yeah.
But yeah, how about we get into Monday's games? Two
All
games.
right, what are your picks for Monday?
We got 1 p.m. Canada Finland, 8 p.m. USA Sweden, and it's going to
Yeah,
depend a lot on the outcome of the first game because
yeah, for sure.
that will influence what,
What the
Sweden
second
could
game
be playing for
means because it
nothing.
could be meaningless.
They could be playing for nothing. They could be
Yeah,
playing to get into the final.
Hmm.
So I'll start with the 1 p.m. game. And you really think they're going away that easy? Come on
no,
now. Canada, I think they know. I saw a quote McDavid after the game. He said tomorrow is like a game seven, or Monday is like a game seven. And
yeah,
I totally agree. I mean, I think they're going to come out like they did for Sweden, but maybe even more. I think they're going to come out strong. The thing is, they came out the way they did versus Sweden, right? Look at Sweden's decor versus Finland's.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
close. It's a different
yeah,
world.
yeah,
So is is Nico Mikkola going to be able to defend McDavid one on one, like on the rush,
yeah.
or Oli Mata or
Not going to be
Nicholas
like the US
Allo?
shutting it down.
Like who's shutting him down when he picks up speed on that blue line? I don't
And
know.
the two guys that would have been the best bets are both hurt, Heiskanen and Ristolainen. So
Yeah. So I've got Canada minus 1.5,
okay,
minus 150. First period three-way money line
okay,
minus 105. Now into the players. Looking at the way Cooper used McDavid last night versus the Americans, I really liked it for his value. Every ozone draw he could,
yeah,
double shifting. McDavid got a lot of looks, and he had a great goal. Could he have had more? I think so. I mean, he had that chance right in the slot where he fired it right in the Hellybuck's chest protector. I thought
Hmm.
that could have been a way better shot for him. But with that being said, when you put together the way Cooper used him and how weak the Finland defense is, I've got McDavid anytime goal scorer. You can get that at plus 170. Now, what's the biggest thing, in my opinion, that Team Canada was missing last game?
Talk to us.
That Calgary boy, Cale Makar,
yeah.
like they
Yeah.
desperately. Well, there was one point where I look and I'm like, is that Drew Doughty on the power play? And it
He was
was.
on PP2 last night. Yeah,
He was on PP too. If you told the Canada management that 3 weeks
I
ago, they would have told you to shut the fuck up because he wasn't
I
even on
do
the team.
I do think that if Harley had more practice time, he probably would have been PP2.
Yeah, maybe even PP1 to be honest. I think Harley's a
Yeah,
beast, but
yeah. But Morrissey's been buzzing. So
no more. Yeah, it's Morrissey's PP1. I was
yeah,
just saying Harley's great,
yeah.
and I think we probably see Harley at the next two, if not three, Olympics for
Well,
Team Canada.
yeah, well, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
So with that being said, I'll take if you're looking for a parlay, I would put Makar plus 3 shots. Um,
3. Holy shit.
I really thought I think he's gonna come in and shoot the biscuit. His plus two was like I think minus 205 or something like that. It wasn't great line. So if you can
Yeah.
find two plus for a reasonable odds, take that. But and then you can get McCarr anytime goal scorer at plus 450, which I think
Okay.
is pretty good odds. I just think if you're McCarr at home watching that game and all the
Yeah.
D with like I love Pareko. Don't get me wrong. He plays his role very
Yeah.
well on the team. but offensively he's a void. You know what I mean? And they have a
Yeah.
few guys like that. I just feel like the Canada D last night not skilled enough offensively. And I feel like Cale Makar is sitting in the press box or wherever he is, or at home. Just like I would shoot the puck 10 times this game because I felt like the Canadian defense were giving up too many looks.
Pucks to the net.
Yeah, agreed. And then my last thing on this game, um, I saw another tweet where it said John Cooper uses Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli like they're Connor McDavid and
Yeah.
Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon, but like
Yeah.
I think Hagel played like 14 minutes and he got in a fight. So like if he didn't get in a fight, how much would he have played? A lot.
Yeah. 20. Yeah.
And he is also a beast on the forecheck. He's a pesty player, and I think he could give fits to that Finland decor if used effectively. His anytime goal score is plus 425. I
Okay.
don't hate it. Okay, so now you have to get into the like condition of the 1 p.m. game, right? So
You're taking Canada to win. So Canada, you think Canada's going to win a regulation, so that would put them in the final. So basically,
yes,
this U.S. game would be meaningless.
yes, but we're gonna look at. So let's assume that I'm right. Okay, and that happens. The
Happens a lot.
Thank you, Jack.
This guy's a stud.
No, but if Canada wins and the USA Sweden game is meaningless, I probably wouldn't really touch that game. If anything, I think Brady
JT
Kachuk has
Miller,
kind of been.
Elias Pettersson fight.
I would love it. Everyone would love it. But I, I don't know. Meaningless games are kind of hard to, put a
Yeah,
bet on. You
yeah,
don't
it's
really know
tough.
who's
You're
going
right.
to be motivated.
Yeah,
It's
But but I think Brady Kachuk is always motivated. I think he's the heartbeat of that team right now. His anytime goal score is plus 250. I think that's pretty good for, how center stage he is right now.
yeah.
But
You think
it
Matt
can't.
sits out?
What's that?
You think Matt sits out Monday?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, obviously it depends on the injury. I don't really know what it
It's
is.
meaningless for them either way. So
Yeah, he probably sits out then. What Dad was saying was it seemed to be a lower body thing, and he
yeah,
thought it could have happened during the fight because they did kind of have like a takedown and
at the end, yeah.
yeah. So that's possible for sure. But if Canada loses and it becomes a win or go home game for Sweden, then obviously we have to get in on Sweden action, right? So,
I have
a
a
couple
question
points.
first.
No,
Do you
no, go
know
ahead.
this? Do you know the situation? Like, if Finland wins in regulation, are they in the final for sure?
Um,
Because
yes,
I believe that it would the
because
tiebreaker would be head to head, and Sweden
yeah,
lost to both teams. So basically, Sweden needs that game to go to overtime for them to have a shot, right?
yeah.
From my
I
understanding.
think so.
I again haven't really thought about this before right now, but I think you're right.
Yeah,
So let's just say I'm talking hypothetically if
yeah,
Sweden can win to make the final, right?
yeah,
So I've been on Lucas Raymond a little bit.
yeah.
He's a he's a great player. I
We were
feel
talking
like
about him and Kempe and Eriksson. Those guys have been the blood, the heartbeat of the team so far. So
I've got Lucas Raymond to record an assist in the game. I couldn't find a line on it right now because we're still a couple of days out,
yeah,
but it'll probably be like plus 150 maybe, plus
yeah,
100,
something
something
like
like that.
that. Yeah,
So Raymond, you touched on him just now, but one of the guys I've been most impressed with was Kempe.
yeah.
His anytime is plus 300.
Anytime
So
goal scorer.
yeah,
Okay.
scored in the first game. I think he had like 5 or 6 shots in that game too. Also have to like the line he plays on, right? With
Yeah,
Forsberg and Pedersen.
yeah.
And then lastly, a guy who has met a lot of criticism this year for his play, but I really like the way for him that Sweden has been deploying him on the first power play, first line, plays on a line with, I'd say, Sweden's for sure best forward, William Nylander. But that's Mika Zibanejad. He had a goal last night or last game
He
with
did play better yesterday. Yeah.
he had 6 shots on goal. He plays the PP. He plays important big minutes. He plays with Nylander. So if you
Yeah.
watch that goal, Nylander kind of gave him the puck in the perfect area, right? So Zibanejad is plus 400. So I would say
Oh, wow.
that's probably my play
Anytime
if that's
goal.
a winner go home game for Sweden. Zibanejad anytime goal scorer.
Okay.
And then for back for the Canada game, I would say Canada minus 1.5. First period 3-way. McDavid anytime goal scorer and McCarr 2+ shots.
Okay.
That gives you a pretty juicy parlay.
So that's no matter what.
Yeah,
Those are your picks. And then this US Sweden game is dependent on the result of the Canada Finland game.
for sure. Yeah. And I do have one more play. And
Right.
after this, we can kind of open it up to be a bit more broad and free flowing. You guys can jump in with your thoughts on the whole tournament. I know you've talked about it already, but I have one future for the tournament.
Okay.
You got to put this in before any of the games. You got to put it in right now.
Okay.
But
1 o'clock tomorrow.
oh yeah, but of course, your tournament MVP
All right.
at plus 1100, number 97, Connor McDavid. I think the Americans beat Finland in convincing fashion, get
Canadians.
themselves into the final game, and take care of business.
Okay.
And
McDavid.
flashback to 2010.
Yeah.
Canada
We were
loses
talking about
in
that too. Yeah.
a motivational loss is sometimes all you
Exactly.
need to win.
On home ice.
Well, now they get to go be the villain, right?
Yeah, exactly. Boo our anthem, I dare you.
Hey, hey. All I'm saying is how good would Tom Wilson look in a Team Canada jersey right now? And
Everyone's
I'm a
talking about
Penguins
it.
fan. And I'm a Penguins fan
Yeah, that's
saying
true.
that.
That's true. This is for how much we talk about Crosby, specifically me. This is the number one. This is our Pittsburgh Penguins fan of the pod.
Pittsburgh Penguins analyst. It did
Biggest
it did
fan
heal
there
my
is.
soul a little bit to see Jake Gensel score 2 goals, even though it was
Yeah.
against Canada. I
Yeah.
got a lot of love for that player. But yeah, I thought Crosby was awful last night.
He was not
I
good
thought
last night. No, he wasn't. He
I
was
thought that
terrific
was
on
like
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night he was the best player on the ice.
Yeah, by
But
far.
last night was just
Yeah.
rough. Would you put him back on center? What would you do? I feel
That,
like he's a bit
that's what we
going.
talked about. I'd rather put McDavid on the wing and put Crosby at center.
I agree.
Yeah.
McDavid, he can
Would
do
you
whatever
move
he wants when he's got the puck. He just skates around like a.
Would you move Point up the lineup?
There definitely has to be someone from that bottom six going up. I thought about Marchand.
You could too with Crosby. Yeah, that could be a play.
I saw somebody say it was actually Ryan Whitney. He said he wants to see, and the other player I'm about to mention, I've also been underwhelmed by, and I think he needs a different look. Like he wants to see a Marchand, Crosby, Reinhardt line.
Yeah, Reinhardt. We talked about Reinhardt too. I just think that the mix on that McDavid, Marner, Reinhardt line wasn't
Uh,
right.
no,
Yeah, it wasn't right.
you need to switch that up.
Yeah,
And all of all my Canada parlay I gave you, disclaimer, asterisk, whatever you want to say, have not seen the practice lines. So if there's a big change, I'm not gonna like I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm not gonna back down and take Finland money
yeah,
line. But it might change my player props or
yeah. What do
but
you
what do you guys think? Do you think I'm nuts for saying Canada's gonna come back and win, or do
No.
No.
you
I
think
don't. I
McDavid?
don't. There wasn't much in that game last night. It was a super tight game. Both teams were really good defensively, and it
Let,
could have gone either way.
let me give you a scenario here. All right, Chase. Canada goes on. I think they handily let's create a scenario where they handily beat Finland. Okay.
Yeah.
You have Canada US final. How many goals get past a pissed off, egotistical Binnington?
Oh, I think he'll probably have less goals allowed than fights. If one of those Kachuk, if one of those Kachuk brothers challenges him,
Oh,
quote
he's
Brandon
going.
Hagel, I'm not backing down from him.
He's going.
But yeah, he would drop him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Um, like the thing is, if he has that extra mental edge, both of those goals that went in last night were savable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
the
Larkin two
first
on
one
one
a
against the
million
five
percent.
hole, they were great shots by skilled 40 goal scorers in the NHL. Like at some point, it's just a goal scorer scoring a goal, and you can't pin it all on the goalie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he could have had both of those.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We talked about the second one a little bit too, where Jack was asking me, like, do you think it was a like bad goal to let in? I wouldn't say it was a bad goal because it was perfectly placed. It's the toughest place to stop a shot, especially in tight. But like you said, it was savable for sure. But I wouldn't put that one on him. The first goal, you put it on him.
Yeah. All
So
right.
what do you would you with the Crosby at center thing, so you agree on that. Would you keep McDavid and McKinnon and Crosby all three at center and just make them 1, 2, 3, or would you move McKinnon or McDavid to the wing and put
I
Crosby?
I don't know which one I'd put on the wing. I think you could figure that out between them or the coaching staff or whatever. But I want first line McDavid and McCann.
Okay, I would put McKinnon at center and McDavid on the wing for sure.
Yeah,
And you need somebody who doesn't want to carry the puck at all with those two, because obviously both those guys carry the puck.
Well, Reinhardt could go in the mix there too. He could go on that line, but you don't want Marner on that line.
Honestly, I would put Reinhardt there, and I would say to him, play defense, play hard defense, let those two
Yeah,
guys score the goals, and when you
yeah,
get into the ozone, just get open and
yeah.
hope that they can find you. But
Just get in the
I don't
mix there.
know. Reinhardt's been my most disappointing Team Canada forward.
Yeah,
I
yeah. He
really
did.
haven't
He
liked
didn't.
his.
He played well defensively in the first game, but still offensively, he hasn't done much. And I
No.
think that's down to the chemistry of that line. I don't think it worked.
What do you think needs to be done to fully unlock Marner? I'm not saying he's been bad, but like if we're jumbling lines,
I,
what
I would
player?
I would disagree with you if you said he's been bad. I don't think he's done
No, no,
anything.
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if we're jumbling lines, who would you put him with to get the best out of him? That's all I'm saying.
So we mentioned it a little bit. We talked about it a little bit. I personally said that McDavid goes to the wing. Maybe Marner plays with McKinnon, and then you put like a Reinhardt or a Marchand on the other wing, and then you put McDavid with Crosby and like a Reinhardt or a point on the wing on that line, something like that.
All right. No, I can see that. That'd be good.
You're not separate. You're not going to separate Sorelli and Hagel. That's your defensive shutdown guys. I thought Bennett did enough to keep his spot in the lineup. What do you think about Konechny? Should Konechny be in the lineup for you?
You know I'm a big Konechny guy.
Yeah,
Honestly, I would say I mentioned you want a if you were to put McDavid and McKinnon together, you want a complimentary guy.
yeah,
I think Konechny would be a good
he
fit
could be.
as the
Yeah,
third guy on that line. Now, who would you
yeah.
take out?
That's what we
that's
talked
the
about.
big question.
We said after game one, I said anyway, I don't know, Jack didn't really necessarily agree, but I said after game one, it would have been hard to take anyone else but Konechny. I thought Jarvis played well in the first game. And like you're not going to take Swirling Hagel out because it's Cooper's the coach. It's a Tampa thing. And Marchand played too well in the first game to take him out too. At this point, it might be Jarvis.
That's that's I think what you're gonna see.
I think Konechny fits better in a game against the US. If you
Yeah,
play Sweden and Finland, I think you can keep Jarvis in. But in a game against the US, it's going to be tight checking. I think Konechny's got to be in the lineup.
I just think that it was a mistake not playing him last night, and I think after the L, you have to put him back in.
Yeah. Would you agree to keep Bennett in the lineup?
I could see the argument to take Bennett out versus
Okay.
Finland and put him back in for US. But if you
So
if you put
going
me on the spot, if you put me on the spot and made me say, I'd probably say Jarvis. I wasn't a huge fan of his game last night. I don't think he was
Yeah,
bad, but I don't think he was
yeah, he didn't
great.
do much. He didn't have a lot of ice either, but yeah, he was
No,
a
he
lot better
didn't, to
against.
be fair.
Yeah. So going into the last night's game, who would you have taken out of the lineup for Bennett?
What do you mean?
Like
So,
instead of taking Konechny out last night, who do you think they should have taken out of the lineup?
mm.
Or would you have just not played Bennett?
No, I think you have to play Bennett versus the Americans.
Yeah. So who would you
Agreed.
have taken out instead of Konechny?
It's tough. Um,
That's tough to say.
you think Jarvis had a good game one?
He had a good game one,
Yeah.
but he wasn't good last night. I really liked that Marshall Point Jarvis line in the first game. I thought that was their best line.
Maybe they should go back to that. I don't know. I probably would have taken Jarvis out, to be honest. Even if he had a good game one,
Yeah,
just because of the physicality and connecting. He's not a big guy, but he's not scared of
he's
shit.
physical. Yeah,
He's the type of guy like Hagel who would have dropped the gloves if he was
yeah,
challenged.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was a little disappointed when the lines first came out before the tournament that Konechny was that low in the lineup. I kind of wanted him higher in the lineup.
Now, I
Excuse
think
me.
he was dealing with an illness. I'm not sure if that played a
Yeah, he
factor
did
at
miss the
all.
first practice. Yeah,
But when I made my mock lines about a month or two ago, I did have him first line with McDavid
yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
just because I think he's crafty. And I think like if McDavid goes through the legs, dangle, bang, bang to connect
Yeah,
me, I feel like he's the guy who can bury that. I just feel like he
yeah,
has that ability. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, I would assume Makar is coming back, so that probably means Harley's out of the lineup.
Yeah. Do you
So
know, can
Chase
they
is.
take someone else out? I don't think they can.
I
But
don't think they can because of the rules. I think you're right.
if you could, though, I would 100% leave Harley in and take somebody else out. I don't know who that would be for you
Dowdy,
guys. Probably
maybe
Travis
take Dowdy
Sanheim.
out or Sanheim. Yeah, I like Sanheim though.
I like Sanheim, but I thought Harley was very noticeable in a good way.
I wouldn't disagree. I like Harley a lot. You know, I like Harley a lot. Um, I like Sanheim, Pareko, or Dowdy would be one of the three I would take out,
I don't
but
think you can take out
because he was a
Parayko after
replacement.
last game
Yeah,
just because of the fight. I
yeah,
think it was like he kind of fed Miller his lunch. I don't know. That was like
yeah,
the highlight of the game for me. It was
yeah.
great. But
I think you see how Doughty plays because it's tough to take a guy like that without experience out of the lineup, especially in a final.
Yeah.
But I think it could be a factor where it's like he hasn't played particularly well in this tournament. If you
I,
can keep Harley in the lineup, I don't know what the rules are because he was a replacement. But
it's
if you
re
can,
it's really
do you
easy to look back
Doughty in
with
the
2020
finals?
vision. It's really easy to look back with 2020 vision and say this or that. And you never could have predicted the injuries.
Yeah,
If you could go back, do you not think they would have taken Evan Bouchard instead of Doughty, knowing knowing that Makar would go down?
yeah. I mean, you wouldn't know that Makar goes down. I personally wouldn't take Bouchard because you already have Makar and Morrissey there.
Yeah, I get it. Morrissey is a bit of a two-way guy for me.
Yeah,
Like, don't get me
yeah.
wrong, he's good offensively. I just think the
I
team's a little bit flawed well, Theodore too.
yeah.
Theodore too. He's
Theodore
kind
was
of,
a big miss. Yeah, yeah. I I I have been a little critical of Bouchard this year. I don't
yeah,
necessarily think that he deserves to be on the team based on how he's played this year.
no, I definitely think there's big holes in his game, but I just think this Team Canada decor last night was not dynamic enough offensively, and I think that was the
No, I
biggest
don't
key they
disagree.
lost.
But like you said, Theodore and Makar being out,
Yeah,
that was a big factor.
2020 vision, but
Yeah. So we got 10 minutes here. So I think we won't take the full 10 minutes, but Chase says Canada's winning tomorrow. We all agree. I think we all agree Canada regulation. We're getting the Canada US final on Thursday night. Uh I know you agree with me on this. I think we both thought that Hill should have started from the beginning of the tournament. I don't know if Jack agrees with that.
I'm okay with starting Bennington. I'm after his first game, it was kind of like there's some doubt.
And Jack, and we brought this up. Jack brought this up to me. What do you think about Binnington? And I said you roll with him because you can't be chucking goalies back and forth. If he was really really terrible, then I think you switch it up. But he made some big saves
Yeah.
late in the Sweden game that kept them in the game. So I don't think you change it now. Would you change it now or no?
Now you do know I'm a big Hill fan. I'm definitely dropping him in fantasy after this if he doesn't get in a game. But no, that's not even a joke. But
Trade him to me. I'll take him.
No, you can drop him.
well, I thought about offering him to Jack, but Jack has like 8 goalies on his team right
Yeah,
now. So
I'll give you Freddie back. How about that?
that guy's gonna turn the dust soon.
yeah,
But I would feel a lot more confident putting Hill in that if there was still Petrangelo and Theodore back there, but those
Yeah.
guys are gone. Um, honestly, I think I'd roll with Bennington for next game.
yeah.
I think so
I
too.
agree.
I think you have to. You committed to him. You can't kind of be like, oh, we're gonna switch thing up because you lost. It's gonna rattle him too much because I think you do need to run with him in the U.S. game because I think he's got that emotional play to him
But if
that
he has a bad game or even like a mediocre game versus Finland and Canada still wins, I've got no problem throwing Hill in there for his first game being the final game. I got no problem with
Yeah,
that. I think the
that would
adrenaline,
be a big decision.
it would be.
Yeah,
But like if you can make the argument that Bennington's been mediocre in all 3 games or like not great, I don't think you can like let that slide 3 times.
yeah. I just think he's the type of goalie that forgets his mistakes pretty quick.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. And I don't like being wishy washy with goalies. I think you stick with your guy unless your guy is really terrible. Because if they would have said, "Oh, Bennington, you played bad against Sweden," we're going with Hill, and then Hill got lit up against the U.S. Now you're going back to Bennington. It's just
Yeah.
very the goalies are on edge because they don't have any confidence that they're going to stay in the game, right? Yeah. If it gets really bad, I don't disagree, and always put Hill in.
All right. So knock on wood, let's not jinx ourselves here. But assuming Canada beats Finland, which we all agree is going to happen, I want a score prediction for the final.
For the final. Well, we're gonna have a preview show before the
yeah,
final.
we'll bring that
Okay.
in.
Okay.
We'll bring you into
We'll
that.
bring you in. So let's save it for that because we need some picks
Okay.
from you for that for the final too.
Do you guys want to talk about the NHL for a couple minutes, or is this strictly a Four Nations thing?
We can, but we only have 6 minutes here because we
No,
don't
just a
pay
couple,
for.
couple minutes.
Okay,
Couple minutes.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, like, what a big smile Brian McClellan must have on his face right now, Washington
yeah,
Capitals.
yeah,
The team's doing so well. All his players get to sit home safely and watch it on
yeah,
TV.
yeah. But none of
They're
them made
all
the
going to
team. Yeah,
be, Wilson might be getting a bit rowdy in Mexico. Some of these guys might be off the liquor a little bit,
yeah,
but for the most part, they're going to be well rested coming back. I think you could see them rattle off some wins. Oh, I think Logan Thompson's going to be really motivated after
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Feed me like a Logan Thompson shutout first game back or something. But
Are you saying future for the Caps to win the cup or what?
no, I, it's funny you say that because I took them before the season started
Yeah,
plus 6,000. So
future to win the cup.
yeah,
Holy
before
shit!
the year started.
Holy
So,
shit!
This
That's
is
a big
this,
payout.
this is why he's the gambling
Yeah,
guy.
this is it right here.
He knows the numbers.
but
So
no, I think the Caps, like when you look at the moves they made in the offseason, such a well-rounded team.
Yeah.
okay, I have two questions. First, keep it simple. Who's your cup pick at this point?
I was gonna ask you guys this after, so I want you guys to give it too. But
I'm sticking with Vegas. I already gave it. I'm sticking with
okay,
Vegas.
Jack,
Uh, you know what? I'm gonna go Dallas then.
you bastard. That's who I was gonna
I
say.
was gonna say
Okay,
Dallas too.
this isn't this isn't my official prediction. That'll come closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, once we get closer to the playoffs, we'll have a
But a team that I think could go on a sneaky run, who I think there's some value if you wanted to bet them right now. is the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I
I think
don't hate it.
when
I
you
don't
look at
hate
the
it. I know
when
Jack
you
doesn't
look
like
at
it. Jack doesn't like it, but I don't hate it.
I know you guys are Leafs fans, but if you look at the Eastern Conference and like kind of the teams Toronto is going to have to go through,
Yeah,
I don't think it's as strong as the West right now.
no,
I
definitely not.
think like if you get to the conference final, who are you playing from the Metro? Like the Devils?
Washington or
The Devils?
Carolina
I
or New
mean,
Jersey.
all three
I
of
don't
those
think New Jersey.
teams, all three of those teams have reasons to like them, but they're all lacking something too at the same time, and none of them have
Yeah,
been great.
New Jersey ain't doing anything in the playoffs.
Bratt and Hughes are on an island by themselves in terms
They're
of
too
offense,
small.
and they're
They're
too
too
small.
small. Yeah, they don't have
So,
any big bodies that get it will get it done in the playoffs. That's why I think Washington can make a run.
all right.
My last question. We got 3 minutes here.
Okay.
What do you think does happen with Sid now that Dubas is saying full rebuild? And do you want Sid to get another shot at a cup, or do you want him to be a Penguin for life?
Wow, that's a hard hitting question for three
There's
minutes.
layers to that
Yeah.
one.
You got three
Layers to
minutes.
that one. I think it will have a lot to do with what happens with this tournament, how it ends, what emotional note it ends on. Is Sid gonna be hungry? Does he want to? Does this like awaken the beast inside him?
Sid's
And
always hungry. What do you mean?
I know, but like, is his hunger for another cup gonna be insatiable after this tournament, especially if they lose?
Mm.
True.
If that's the case, and he genuinely in his soul wants to leave, I think any Pittsburgh Penguins fan who says no can fucking pound sand because that guy, that guy has given his life to this team,
Yeah.
and if he wants to go to Colorado with his protege, become master Nathan McKinnon,
Yeah.
and win another cup, I think he should be able to do that.
Yeah. But it is set out there that it's important for him to be a Penguin for life.
For sure. And I mean, maybe
Yeah.
he comes back after winning a cup and plays one more year or even signs a
Yeah.
one contract with the Penguins. I
Yeah.
mean, I think at this point, he could have been traded, after the year they lost to the
Yeah.
Islanders, to the Rangers.
Yeah.
He could have been
I
traded for
think
you.
I think it's going year by year now. I think it's just every offseason you're reevaluating and
I think he's shown so much loyalty.
yeah.
We have to give that back to him if he
Yeah.
wants to if he wants to go somewhere else.
This is not a Leafs or NHL or Four Nations podcast. This is a Sidney Crosby appreciation podcast.
Damn right. Damn right.
All right, buddy.
All right. It's been an
That's all we
honor.
got.
I
We'll get you
was
back
not going to
We'll
on.
be
see you
up.
again soon.
Was
What's
not going
that?
to be up this early to drive out to Kingsville for the
No,
in-person,
it's a
but
long
I
ride.
I will grace that podcast set pretty soon.
Well, we'll do our preview show, but we're going to be apart as well because I'm not going to be able to get out here
Okay.
before the final. So I'll be here for the final, but
Well,
we'll be all on Zoom. So
maybe I'll be in person for the trade deadline preview or the
there you go.
Stanley Cup playoffs preview. We'll figure it out.
And we'll figure it out, pal. All right, buddy.
Okay. All right.
Take
See
care.
you guys. Have a good one.
All right, we want to finish it on here on Zoom.
Less than 1 minute.
Oh, it's for all of it. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll go back. All right.
Well, that was different.
So I hope you enjoyed our gambling insider. We talked a little bit more than just gambling there. So wrap it up. We got Canada Finland tomorrow afternoon at 1.
Yep.
Hopefully Canada gets it done and they're in the final. You got US Sweden at 8 o'clock. There's nothing to play for the US no matter what. Sweden hopes they have something to play for, and we have Miller against Pedersen regardless.
That's gonna be so fun.
And we'll be back either Tuesday or Wednesday night to preview the final.
Yep.
Whoever the final ends up being, it's the US is in for sure. Whoever they end up playing, Canada, Finland, or Sweden, we'll see.
Line predictions, outcome predictions.
We'll have Chase on here for a couple picks. We're both saying Canada's going to get there, but it's not going to be as easy as people make it out to be.
No.
Anything else? I think we skipped the quiz today.
Yeah, I think we skipped the quiz.
When we get back to the NHL stuff, we'll be doing the quiz. But
It was fun. I mean, that last thing is just go puck yourself,
Yeah.
guys. Enjoy the game.
go Canada.
And remember that it's just a game. It's
Yeah.
a sport.
Yeah.
It's a game. Let's not get crazy with it. Okay. I know this has been a passionate tournament.
We're gonna be fired up on Thursday if it's Canada US again.
It's the reason we love the game, guys.
All right, guys.
Go puck yourself.
Yeah.